The Book of Enoch is an ancient text that offers a fascinating and often disturbing look into the time before the Great Flood. It tells the story of how evil entered the world through the actions of a group of fallen angels known as the Watchers. These Watchers, who were supposed to observe and guide humanity, instead chose to rebel against God and corrupt the earth. Their actions led to the birth of a race of giants called the Nephilim, and their story is one of cosmic battles, divine punishment, and the struggle between good and evil. To understand this story, we first need to talk about who the Watchers were. According to the Book of Enoch, the Watchers were a group of powerful angels sent by God to watch over humanity. However, a group of 200 Watchers, led by two angels named Semiaza and Azazel, became fascinated by the beauty of human women. Ignoring God's commands, they decided to leave their heavenly posts and descend to earth. They gathered on Mount Hermon, where they made a pact to take human wives and live among humans. Once on earth, the Watchers began to take human wives and have children with them. These children were not ordinary humans. They were the Nephilim, a race of giants known for their incredible strength and size. The Nephilim became famous, but they were also violent and destructive. The Watchers didn't stop there. They began to teach humans forbidden knowledge, such as sorcery, astrology, weapon-making, and other secret arts. This knowledge corrupted humanity, filling the earth with violence, greed, and evil practices. God, seeing the chaos and corruption caused by the Watchers, decided to take action. He sent a group of archangels to judge and punish the Watchers for their sins. The leaders of the Watchers, Semiaza and Azazel, were captured and bound. They were cast into darkness, where they would remain imprisoned for their crimes. But the punishment didn't end with the Watchers themselves. God also commanded the archangels to deal with the Watchers' wives, who had played a role in spreading corruption and evil on earth. The archangel Michael was given the task of punishing the Watchers' wives. According to the Book of Enoch, Michael's actions were harsh and brutal. First, he had the wives brought before him and bound them. Then, the text says that Michael defiled the wives. Many scholars interpret this to mean that Michael raped or sexually assaulted the women as part of their punishment. This act was meant to humiliate and degrade them for their role in corrupting humanity. But Michael's punishment didn't stop there. After this horrific act, he changed the appearance of the wives, making them ugly and disfigured. The text says that Michael made their bodies more ugly than any human being. This was meant to further humiliate them and mark them as outcasts. The wives, once beautiful, were now unrecognizable and shunned by society. Still, Michael wasn't finished. He then cast the disfigured wives into darkness, where they were bound and forced to watch a terrible sight. Their children, the Nephilim, had turned against each other in a violent and bloody war. The wives had to watch helplessly as their giant offspring destroyed one another, tearing each other apart in a frenzy of violence. This was the final part of their punishment, a psychological torment that added to their physical suffering. The story of Michael's punishment of the Watchers' wives is one of the most disturbing parts of the Book of Enoch. It's important to note that this story doesn't appear in other ancient religious texts, so we have to be careful about how we interpret it. However, it does give us insight into the beliefs of an ancient sect of Judaism. The story reflects their views on the origins of evil, the consequences of disobedience, and the harsh nature of divine punishment. From a modern perspective, the story is deeply troubling. The idea of an archangel committing acts of sexual violence and mutilation as a form of punishment is horrifying and goes against our understanding of justice and morality. Even when we consider the cultural context of the time, the extreme nature of Michael's actions seems excessive and cruel. It's a story that challenges us to think about how ancient people viewed justice, punishment, and the role of women in society. After the punishment of the Watchers' wives, the Book of Enoch shifts its focus to the fate of the Nephilim. The giants, who had caused so much destruction and violence, were now turning on each other. The earth, soaked in the blood of the Nephilim, cried out in anguish. The cries reached heaven, where God heard them and saw the devastation caused by the Watchers' rebellion. In response, God sent powerful spirits, known as the cherubim, to earth. Their mission was to remove the remaining Nephilim from the earth and cleanse the land of their corruption. The cherubim gathered the Nephilim and bound them. They then threw the giants into deep valleys, ravines, and abysses across the earth. Once the Nephilim were imprisoned, the cherubim destroyed their former homes with fire and brimstone. This act of purification was meant to rid the earth of the pollution caused by the Watchers and their offspring. With the Nephilim gone and their homes destroyed, the earth was finally cleansed. The story ends with the earth being restored to its original, pristine state as God had intended in the beginning. The Watchers, their wives, and their giant children were all punished, and the world was made pure once again. The story of the Watchers, the Nephilim, and the Archangel Michael's brutal punishment of the Watchers' wives is a complex and disturbing tale. It reflects the beliefs and values of an ancient culture, but also raises difficult questions about justice, morality, and the treatment of women. While the story may be shocking to modern readers, it offers a glimpse into the worldview of an ancient people who saw the world as a battleground between good and evil, where divine justice was often harsh and unforgiving. As we reflect on this story, it's important to remember that ancient texts like the Book of Enoch were written in a very different time and cultural context. They were shaped by the beliefs, values, and experiences of the people who wrote them. While we may find some of the details troubling, these stories can still teach us about the history of human thought and the ways in which people have tried to understand the world around them. In the end, the story of the Watchers and the Nephilim is a reminder of the power of storytelling. It's a tale that has captivated readers for centuries, and it continues to spark discussion and debate today. Whether we see it as a religious text, a historical document, or a work of ancient literature, the Book of Enoch offers a unique and fascinating window into the past. And while its stories may be strange and unsettling, they remind us of the enduring human desire to make sense of the world and our place in it. From a modern perspective, the story is deeply troubling. The idea of an archangel committing acts of sexual violence and mutilation as a form of punishment is horrifying and goes against our understanding of justice and morality. Even when we consider the cultural context of the time, the extreme nature of Michael's actions seems excessive and cruel. It's a story that challenges us to think about how ancient people viewed justice, punishment, and the role of women in society.